Ever stumbled on advice so classic, it feels like finding a hidden treasure?
Mm-hmm.
That's us today. We're diving into Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
A classic.
Talk about a book that stood the test of time. Been a bestseller for almost a century.
Yeah.
Gotta wonder, though, does it still hold up today?
You know, it's fascinating, right? Because even though it was written back in the 1930s, the core message, it still resonates. It's all about those basic human needs: connection, significance, feeling understood. Those are timeless.
Totally. Like, our text changed, but we're still wired the same way underneath it all.
Exactly.
So today we're going deep, digging into those core principles. Do they still work? And more importantly, how can you actually use this stuff in your life?
Love it. Let's do it.
Right, first up, a principle that seems simple on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
Oh, that was good.
Right. Sounds straightforward, but I have a feeling there's more to it than meets the eye. What do you think?
Way more. Carnegie, he doesn't just tell you what to do, he digs into the why. See, criticism often backfires because our brains, they're wired to protect our egos.
Makes sense.
Even when we know we messed up, there's this instinct to justify it, to avoid that feeling of being wrong. It's like a defense mechanism, built right in.
So if you come in hot with criticism, it's like you're triggering those defenses instead of opening their mind to actually hearing you.
100%. They're not listening to your message anymore. They're too busy building their walls. Carnegie, he even uses these really striking examples like notorious criminals. I'm talking guys like Two-Gun Crowleys, refusing to take blame even on death row.
Wow, okay, that's intense.
It is, but it shows you how deep this self-justification runs in us.
Makes you realize how pointless most criticism really is if everyone's just hardwired to deflect it.
Right.
So if we're not supposed to criticize, even when someone's clearly in the wrong, what's the alternative? How do you deal with those situations?
Well, Carnegie suggests a pretty radical shift. Try to understand the other person's perspective. Why did they do it? What were their motivations? Now, this doesn't mean you have to agree with their actions, but it does mean trying to see the situation through their eyes.
So more curiosity, less judgment.
Yeah.
I can see how that would completely change the tone of a conversation.
Right.
But are there, like, practical examples of this in action? I mean, it seems tough, especially when you're dealing with someone who's really messed up.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about Abraham Lincoln. Think about it. Civil War, immense pressure, tons of frustration with his generals. But instead of publicly criticizing them, Lincoln, he chose to try and understand their challenges, to offer support instead.
That's some serious restraint, considering what was at stake.
Right. Even after Gettysburg, when General Meade hesitated in capturing Lee's army, Lincoln, he held back on sending this scathing letter he'd written. He realized, a letter like that, it would only make things worse.
Wow. It sounds like this principle is as much about managing your own reactions as it is about influencing others.
Exactly. It's recognizing that criticism, a lot of times, it doesn't get you the outcome you want. Difficult colleague, frustrating family member, even just a friend who messed up, approaching it with understanding, that's more likely to get you a positive result.
That makes a ton of sense. Ditch the criticism, embrace understanding. Adding that to my mental toolbox right now. Okay. What's next on Carnegie's wisdom list?
All right. This one's a classic, but I think we forget how powerful it is. Give honest and sincere appreciation.
Oh, I like this one already.
Carnegie, he believed that people crave appreciation almost as much as they crave food or sleep.
You know, there's that saying, I can live for 2 months on a good compliment.
Right.
Maybe that's what they meant. It really does make a difference.
It does. And Carnegie argues that sincere appreciation is one of the most powerful tools we have for building relationships, for motivating people. He uses Charles Schwab as an example, one of the highest paid executives of his time. Schwab, he said a lot of his success came from this ability to arouse enthusiasm in his people through appreciation, through encouragement.
So instead of focusing on what people were doing wrong, he was constantly looking for what they did right, their achievements.
Yeah.
I can see how that would totally change the vibe of a workplace. Make it more positive, more productive.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, this isn't about empty flattery. Carnegie makes a clear distinction.
Oh yeah, there's a difference for sure.
Big time. This has to be genuine, coming from the heart, focused on the other person's actual good points, their accomplishments, expressed in a way that feels authentic.
Yeah, I can see where the line gets blurry. Like, how do you make sure your appreciation doesn't sound fake or forced? What's the secret sauce?
It's all about being specific and genuine. Like a heartfelt compliment on a new haircut, that means more than just a generic "you look good," or a handwritten thank you note to a colleague for going above and beyond. way more meaningful than a casual thanks in passing. It's the thoughtfulness that really makes it land.
It's funny, Carnegie tells this story about a woman who was deeply touched by this nurse's kindness and appreciation. This encounter, it stuck with her for years. Yeah, she was only 10, in the hospital on Thanksgiving, feeling all alone. And this nurse, she went above and beyond to comfort her.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
It is, and it stuck with her. It just goes to show you the power of that genuine care and attention.
It's not about the grand gestures all the time, is it? It's those small acts of kindness that can make someone feel seen.
Exactly. And think about the ripple effects. That nurse probably had no idea what an impact she made on that little girl.
You're so right. That's the thing about these principles, you just never know how far your actions reach, whose life you might touch. Like throwing a pebble in a pond, those ripples go out further than you can see.
Totally. Okay, so we've got ditch the criticism and embrace appreciation.
Two good ones.
Right. Already got me rethinking how I interact with people. So what's next on Carnegie's list of timeless wisdom?
All right, so this next one, it challenges us to shift our focus from ourselves to others. It's about recognizing that the most effective way to influence people is to become genuinely interested in them.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So instead of trying to convince someone to see things our way, we need to figure out what they want.
Precisely. It's like Carnegie uses this fishing analogy. You wouldn't use strawberries and cream to catch a fish, would you? You got to use what the fish wants, a worm.
I love that. Makes perfect sense. But how do we figure out what that worm is for each person we're trying to connect with? I mean, how do you tap into what they actually want?
It goes back to that human need for significance. Remember we were talking about that earlier. It's about becoming genuinely interested in them. Like really genuinely interested, not just biding your time until you can steer the conversation back to yourself. Everyone wants to feel important, heard, understood. It's basic human stuff.
So true. Like, I know I'm way more likely to listen to someone if I feel like they're actually interested in what I have to say. But can you really, cultivate that genuine interest? Or is it just something some people are naturally good at?
Well, Carnegie, he actually gives a really great example of this in action. He talks about how he got some of the biggest names in the country, like huge names, to come speak at his public speaking courses, and not by bragging about himself or anything. He wrote them these personalized letters, expressing this sincere admiration for their work, asking for their advice.
So he appealed to their desire to share what they know, to feel like they were contributing something valuable.
Exactly. He made it about them, not him. And guess what? It worked. He got people like William Jennings Bryan and frickin' Franklin D. Roosevelt to speak at his classes.
Whoa. Okay, that's impressive. It really makes you wonder how often we miss those opportunities to connect because we're so focused on our own agenda. It sounds like taking a genuine interest in others. It's not just about understanding them. It's also about making them much more receptive to what you have to say.
Right. It's a total win-win. But Carnegie really emphasizes that this interest, it has to be sincere. It can't just be some tactic you're using. People can spot that a mile away.
Totally. He also tells this great story about Theodore Roosevelt. Apparently, he made a point of remembering the names and even the preferences of White House servants.
No way. Really?
Yeah. Talk about attention to detail.
It's true, though, isn't it? Every person, regardless of their position, their status, they deserve that respect, that consideration. And that kind of genuine interest, it really goes a long way, builds strong relationships.
Okay, so to recap, ditch the criticism, embrace appreciation, and be genuinely interested in other people.
So far, so good.
Right. What's next?
This one might seem super simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Smile.
Wait, seriously. Just smile more. That's it.
Yeah. Never underestimate the power of a genuine smile. It's a universal symbol of goodwill, warmth, acceptance, positivity. You're conveying all of that in a split second.
You're right. I've totally noticed that, how a genuine smile can completely change the energy of an interaction. Like you're dealing with a grumpy cashier or someone who's clearly stressed out, a smile can sometimes totally turn things around.
Exactly. And get this, Carnegie even says, a smile on the phone can make a difference.
Wait, what?
Dead serious. Telephone companies, they used to have these training programs teaching employees to smile while they were on the phone.
No way.
That's hilarious.
But also kind of brilliant. I mean, your voice does sound different when you're smiling. It's like you're transmitting that positive energy through the phone lines or something.
Exactly. Transmitting that positive energy. Remember that story about the stockbroker, William B. Steinhardt?
Yeah.
The guy completely transformed his life just by smiling more, said it totally changed his relationships at home, at work, everywhere.
Okay, I'm sold. Smile more, got it. What's next on the list?
Okay, so this next one, this is a bit more complex, but it's key to understanding how to actually persuade people. It's the principle of arousing an eager want.
An eager want. Okay, you're going to have to explain that one. I'm all ears.
Basically, it comes down to this. If you want to persuade someone to do something, they got to want to do it.
Well, yeah.
And the best way to do that, connect what you want with something they already want.
Find that sweet spot where your goals line up.
Exactly. Carnegie says it way better than I can, though. Hold on, let me find the quote. Here it is. If there's any one secret of success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own.
So it's not about, like, this battle of wills. It's about finding common ground.
100%. He actually tells this great story about this father who's trying to get his son, this little kid, to eat his veggies.
Oh, of every parent's struggle.
Right. Kid's stubborn, refuses to eat anything healthy. So the dad, he gets clever. He knows his son idolizes these superheroes, right?
Okay, I see where this is going.
So he links eating veggies to getting those superpowers. Like, you want to be strong like Superman, gotta eat your spinach.
Turning broccoli into the source of superpowers, that's brilliant.
And it worked. Kid starts gobbling down spinach, convinced he's gonna get super strength.
See, that's good parenting and good persuasion. Instead of eat your veggies because they're good for you, which, let's face it, means nothing to a kid, he tapped into something the kid already cared about.
Exactly. And he's got another example in like a business context this time. This guy's trying to rent a ballroom in a hotel, but the manager, he wants to triple the rent, make it impossible.
Deal breaker.
Right. But instead of arguing or begging, the guy sits down with the manager and they start talking about the hotel's interests.
So he flipped the script. Instead of being all, me, I need this ballroom.
Yeah.
He makes it about what the hotel has to gain.
Exactly. He points out all the good stuff, the publicity, the crowds coming to the lectures, all that benefit to the hotel if they rent to him.
And I'm guessing it worked.
What do you think? The manager, he actually lowered the rent increase.
No way. That's amazing. It's like that saying, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
100%.
But in this case, it's more like you can rent a ballroom with a win-win proposition rather than a desperate plea.
Ooh. I like that. And that's actually a key point. Carnegie, he's really clear that this principle, it's not about manipulating people, right?
Right.
It's about actually trying to find a solution that works for everyone, that leaves both parties feeling good about it at the end of the day.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so to sum up all this Carnegie wisdom, ditch the criticism, embrace appreciation, be genuinely interested, smile more, and arouse an eager want by figuring out how to align what you want with what they want.
Nailed it.
That's a lot of wisdom packed into one book.
I know. It really makes you think, you know? Like these principles, they're not even just about winning friends or influencing people. They're about like becoming a better human being in general, more understanding, more empathetic, more generous.
That's so true. And I think that's why people are still reading Carnegie after all these years. It's not some quick fix guide to getting what you want.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with people on a deeper level.
Couldn't have said it better myself. When you approach your interactions with that kind of care, that genuine consideration, it can really change everything. Your relationships, your life, everything.
So well said. And on that note, if you're looking for some timeless wisdom to give your life a little upgrade, might be time to dust off that copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Seriously, such a good read.
Until next time.